Another tactic that worked very well for me in the beginning of my practice is the networking groups, the business networking groups. I don't know if you've ever talked about that before, but it worked really well for me. The one I belonged to was called Letip. There's a bunch of them. They're in every city. You sit down once a week, and literally a group of people are like your salesman, and you each refer business to each other. This was hugely successful for me, especially in the beginning when you've got nothing going.
Yep, and that's for all those people that said, but I'm new to this, what do I do?
Yes, absolutely.
What other sources of traffic do you have for everybody?
Um,
You're on a roll, man. I want to keep you going.
all right, you betcha. Well, I did well in publicity for a while, and I don't know if you remember, I was asking questions when you had your publicity guest on there because I'm fascinated with this area. I got on TV, I got in a few newspapers, I wrote articles all around town, and let me just give you the quick shortcut to how I got on, and I would do this every day if I wanted more clients. You go to the editor of the newspaper that's writing about the subject matter that you have some knowledge about. So, for instance, the Seattle Post-Intelligencer is a big paper here. It's now an online version. Our city couldn't support two papers, but at the time it was huge. And I went to the sports blog on their website. Okay, every newspaper's got these, and I went and looked for some of the sports writers who manage their little section of the paper, their own little personal blog. And I just got into conversation with them. In fact, it was the conversation I jumped into. The guy was talking about chirping in his room at night while he sleeps, and how he couldn't get to sleep at night, and it was driving him crazy. And I just entered that conversation. It was the fire alarm going off, the chirper fire alarm thing when the battery goes bad. So we got in a little personal conversation about that on his blog, and then after about 3 or 4 back and forths, I just said, "Hey, I'm a sports hypnotist. You ever write anything about that?" Boom! He goes, "Holy, you're kidding me." I go, "No." He says, "I've always wanted to learn about that." Boom! I got a big article in the paper. It was that easy. Personal outreach connection. I didn't know that guy from Adam. Start personal. People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. Everything is a big personal game out there.
Yeah, that's great. Great technique.
Yeah, and then the TV show, they picked me up from that article. They also told me they noticed that I had written in other articles around town. Like we had more of a community newspaper in my hometown, a suburb here of Seattle. And get this. I just emailed, no, I think I called her up. I called the editor of our local little community newspaper, and I said, "Hey, I got a great idea for a story." At the time, our Seattle sports teams were doing horrible, and this was at the beginning of the recession. And I said, "Boy, things are really bad in Seattle. The recession's hit, housing prices are down, and the Seahawks and the Mariners are at the bottom of the basement." And I was going to write how people can cheer themselves up in the midst of all this. And the editor goes, "Great, write it." It was that easy. And I write an article for our community newspaper that goes out to about 15,000 people. It's just by a phone call. See, it's not techniques. It's not lack of strategy here. For the most part, what holds hypnotherapists back is their own fears.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to work on first. And I did a lot of work on myself on this to get over my fear so I could do that. Another time, I moved to Seattle from scratch. I knew nobody here. Started my hypnotherapy from zero. I had a brother who I begged to live with for a little bit. And I said, "I'm going to do hypnotherapy." And I said, "Okay, what do I do?" "Well, I know a little bit about golf, and I've done some things in the golf market." And so I go online and I find out the Seattle Golf Convention is going to be in town in a couple months. So I call up the Seattle Golf Convention and say, "Hi, my name's Craig Sigel, and I run a golf website." Now, mind you, I've never taught anybody golfing in person ever in my whole life. I'm not a golf pro. I'm just a guy who created an online product from a bunch of books I got in the library. Anyway, I called this guy and I said, "You need to have me speaking at your conference." He's like, "Who are you?" You know, I said, well, I'm Craig Sigel. I'm the owner of Break 80 Golf and blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I'm the main stage speaker on the mental game for the whole Seattle Golf Conference.
Nice.
Just like that. You just make a few phone calls and you just connect to people. The people will fall all over themselves. Here's something I learned from one of my coaches to help everybody with this kind of attitude. Come to people with a vision, with an idea, right? And then ask, what do you think? So my business coach said, people support what they create. But we've got to make the initial offer. We've got to come up with a vision. So you go, hey, I got this idea. We can do this, we can do that. What do you think? And you really try to elicit their ideas of your vision. And when you get their ideas, holy smokes, now they're invested in it and they own it. And you go, let's rock. And because they own it, and that's what you want to do with people in your office, people who are calling, it's our own psychology that creates abundance and wealth. Or doesn't, based on the fears. Moving on to more social media, it's the same thing. Hook into people, ask them a little something about them, get to know them. Here's the thing, though, that I see people using social media ineffectively. It's a great medium. There's people doing well on it, and there's people who waste a ton of time on it. Here's the difference. Be conscious about what you're trying to accomplish. Find somebody who is a connector, like I told you about those coaches and those athletic directors. Find them first. Do your homework, find them, and then go work on being their friend. Don't just be friends with anyone who will talk to you. You can spend your life on that, and you'll get nowhere business-wise.
You could talk to homeless guys here in San Francisco. They want to be your friend.
Exactly. Now, I want to give you another social media shortcut here. LinkedIn. My partner has really discovered this. I work with somebody for my mental toughness area of my practice, and she's a whiz at this. And in the past, LinkedIn used to be this: you had to get somebody to recommend you in order to connect to somebody. But guess what? You don't have to do that anymore. They've got a loophole where you join groups. LinkedIn's got all these groups. So you go find where your customers are, and you join the group, and you create some conversations. You go look for the people who are the kinds of connectors we were talking about earlier, and you make friends with them. You hook up with them. You go to their website. You comment on something on their website. You generate a conversation. You blog post. You post on their blog. Next thing you know, you're on their face. They get to know you. They go, wow, how can we work together? And then you do the people support what they create trick. But the groups is the backdoor way to hook into anybody you want. I'm just pausing here to see if you want to ask me something. Otherwise, I can keep rattling.
No, I was just thinking that's the first time I've heard that. So that's actually a really useful little piece of information.
Yep.
I don't do much on LinkedIn, but I know that if you want to connect in the business world, that's the place to go, not on Facebook or anything like that.
Exactly. And the framework there, the theme there is to connect for business reasons. Facebook, that's not the theme. The theme there is to talk socially. So you can actually be more effective on LinkedIn if you get the hang of it. It's a little bit more, you have to dive in, and you really need to present a good profile. There's all kinds of tutorials and free trainings on how to make a good profile on LinkedIn, because when you hook up with somebody, that's the first place they're going to look, and you can't just have this funny little one like you do on Facebook. But you present a professional presence, and your website looks good, and you speak like you understand the industry, you understand their problems. Once again, you do not need to know what is a fullback position on a soccer field. In fact, I like to tell hypnotherapists, I went about 12 soccer clients before I finally said, maybe I ought to learn something about soccer. And then I went to the library and got a basic book about soccer, the basic positions, like a book meant for elementary school soccer players. And that's all I need to know. It's still all I know about the deal about soccer. It's one of the most popular sports now, and I see lots of people for that.
Yeah, I used to be considered weird because I've always been a big World Cup fan, and Now America's kind of on board, but for a long time, people were like, "You really watch that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's awesome." In fact, me and some buddies want to go to the next one in Brazil, but not everybody's that way.
I want to bring that back. So you enjoy soccer, you love soccer, and so it would probably be real easy for you to talk about soccer with somebody, right?
Yeah, I do at my gym all the time. Although it's more about like the teams and who's going to make it and stuff like that.
Right. So get this. I didn't know anything about soccer, and I'm working with these soccer players. But remember, I said earlier, a big part of helping people get their outcome and getting them to want to work with you is your energy about it.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I don't know squat about soccer at the time, I'm saying, gosh, it looks like such a strategic game. I don't know much about it. Tell me about what happens in your guys' mind when you're charging down the field. And then your clients are like, wow. And I actually will sometimes defer to their expertise as a player, and they love it. And you get further sometimes that way than trying to pretend you know something about soccer or whatever sport we're talking about. I got by. I still get clients who come to me with all kinds of crazy sports like Olympic trampolining and whitewater kayaking and downhill skiing, and it'll all come back to the same tools and techniques that I teach, and most of us hypnotherapists know. And I have my experience in working on this. I can get to the core of what's going to get them their outcome faster than your average hypnotherapist, and that's the kind of things I teach.
Awesome. Now I just want to take a quick little break, everybody. I know that we're running long, but this is such great information that I don't really want to cut him off. So I figure we'll do another 15 minutes or so, the presentation, and then go into questions. And also, I noticed some of you have already submitted questions. We are specifically avoiding hypnotic technique questions. This is about the marketing and how to get the clients. So if you have questions around technique, get with Craig, go to his website or email him, and you can talk to him about that there. So keep your questions, please, focused around the whole idea of getting clients and doing the business and building your practice using this, the niche itself. And so back to the questions, one of the things that's really common is people, and we got questions on this too, is people want to know, like, if I'm a brand new hypnotist, or maybe I'm just thinking about going into sports hypnosis, but I'm starting from scratch.
Yeah.
What sort of tips do you have for people around that?
Well, like I said, it's a no-brainer to join a networking group. I mean, we really get a huge boost when other people are saying, this guy is good. You can go around to anybody and say, I'm good. But people want to have some kind of proof element. So when you join a networking group, all of a sudden you got people who are going to go say great things about you. Now, they're going around saying it's part of the deal. And maybe, skirting the issue about whether you really are good enough, because they have to do that, because that's the deal. But even so, when they bring you clients, you're good enough to get great outcome. So however they come to you and people are telling you're great, and even in the network group that I joined, I actually did free sessions for everyone in my group so that they could see how good I was and that they really could speak about me and how great I was. When people are talking about you, that's 100 times more powerful than you trying to convince someone. Okay? The other way is public speaking, flat out public speaking. When I first started, one of the things I did was I just called up, once again, I got over my fears and I just called up Kiwanis clubs. I called up any of these different, I just did some Google searches on fraternal clubs in my local area. Kiwanis, it's been a while since I've done this. Anybody who had wanted to listen to me. And I had a pre-programmed speech about the subconscious and the unconscious and how it creates our problems, and mentioned a few issues that I'm specific about if you're into sports. There's so many teams who would love to have you come and speak. In fact, these days I don't do free speaking. I charge quite a bit. And anytime, a big tip is anytime you're going to speak, videotape yourself. It's so easy these days. You can use your iPhone. You can get one of those $60, they're HD, you set it up on a tripod, videotape yourself, make little 2-minute segments out of them, populate your website with it. When people go to your website, this contributes hugely to conversion. You can pop them up on YouTube. Put them, those keywords we were talking about, whether it's gymnastics, mental block, or soccer tackling. Go open up some websites and find out what the different sports you want to work with, the terms they use, and talk a few moments about that in your YouTube video. I mean, the sky is the limit, but speaking is a really big one. Check this out, when I joined my network club, and I bet in most big cities this is probably the case, you get a territory, if you will. Like, there can only be one realtor in a group, and there can only be one chiropractor in a group. There can only be one hypnotherapist in a group. So I'm the only hypnotherapist in our group. But
you mean the networking group, right?
Yes. I'm really big on these, especially starting out. And here's the deal, though. If you're in a networking group that all the groups are chained together in a metro area, then you get to go present to the other groups who don't have another hypnotherapist. So I got to go speak to like 20 other networking groups because nobody else had a hypnotherapist. I was like the only one in the whole Seattle region out of, 5,000 people. So once a week, I'm speaking to 50 people who are predisposed to giving me leads. And boy, they came in. And all I had to do was speak for like 3 minutes, not even 3 minutes, maybe 2 minutes about what I do. And everybody's there to give each other leads. It's great. And then when they get on the phone with me, I go through that process I just told you. Whammo, they're my clients. You only need a few of those to get the whole ball rolling. Once you get the ball rolling, then you use the referral tactics I talked about. Because you get some by the way, you gotta get testimonials. If anybody goes into my website, you'll see I'm loaded with testimonials. Because whenever somebody's happy, I ask them, would you be okay with me filming a little testimonial about how our work went? They all say yes. It's amazing. And I'll ask them, you need to ask them specific questions. They'll say, so how were you before and how are you now? And then they'll say, well, I used to be this and now I'm not. When people watch those video testimonials, that's what converts them. They want to see results. So get your client to talk about the results, how they were before and how they are now. Put your testimonials all over your websites, throw them into your YouTube channel if you want to go YouTube marketing. God, I'm all over the place now. Where are we? Get me straight, Craig.
Yeah, we're going to the tips for newbies. And while you think about where you were, I want to point out to people, you should be using YouTube because it's the number 2 search engine in the world. And which is why Google bought it. So Google, the number 1 search engine, bought YouTube, and it's the number 2 search engine. And if you specifically use keywords targeting your local area, when people search in your local area, those links to those videos will pop up in the very top of the results.
They'll go ahead of websites that have been there for years at the top.
Yes, exactly.
It's amazing.
Because Google gives their own properties much more priority.
Yep.
So you definitely want to do that.
And I mentioned earlier.
You mentioned something about free sessions, and you gave those out to all the people in your networking group. Yes,
and I targeted not just people in my networking group, but certain connector types. And I talked about that, in the sports world, go for the athletic directors of select sports. Those are the people who have the influence. And they'll send you clients forever. And usually these select sports directors, the way it's set up, for those of you who don't know, they have private organizations that will organize teams based on age groups. So, for instance, I'm really hooked into a group called Sabotage Sports, and they do volleyball and wrestling. And they have like 5 volleyball teams, at girls' volleyball teams at different age levels. And their group goes and plays other private organizations like that. They do, it's called travel ball in some areas. You'll actually literally travel to other states. And if you can get a hold of the people who organize all these private groups together, well, now you've really got a gold mine. But do it intentional. Find out who these people are. You can just ask your neighbor who has a kid in sports, and I guarantee you everybody's got friends who have kids in sports on select sports teams, and say, so do you mind telling me who your coach is? And you call the coach or email the coach. You find him on Facebook, and you say, Coach, can you tell me who the director of your program is? And you go find that person, you call him up, and you go either of those levels and say, listen, this is what I do. I help people get over their mental blocks, get over performance anxiety. I have an amazing process. What I'd like to do, Coach, is help you out and support your program. So there's a number of ways we can do that. One, I would love to do a talk for your team. That's a great way to establish credibility, that you know what you're talking about and you got some good stuff for them. Or, like I said before, give me your most difficult athlete and I'll do a scholarship work for them. Or, even better, if you can do it for the person themselves so they can experience. That's even more powerful. And that's what I did more of. I went right for the person, the connector, because they just go, oh my God, this is great. And they can speak from personal experience. There's no more better gold than that.
Yeah, so one thing, like in all we've been talking about, and I just want to ask you about this because I've noticed you haven't mentioned talking about anything around advertising. So do you ever use that, or what are your thoughts around that?
Glad you asked. I tried a bunch of advertising. In fact, I paid $800 once to get a commercial on the Fox Sports Northwest that was going to run, 20 times for a month. I got zip. I did a couple other things, zip. I'm asked a number of times to put an ad in high school programs, sports programs. I'll do it just because it's my client and I'm making a donation, kind of. Zip. Never gotten anything. I'm not kidding you. Zip. I stopped doing advertising about 3 years ago.
Okay. Oh, that's it. That's all about that then. It's obvious that you've done a lot of work with athletes and as a hypnotist. Just curious, do you have any other people who are hypnotists are working with athletes?
Oh, yeah. My good friend Patty Freeman is down in Arizona, and she has gotten on the Best Damn Sports Show in Fox, and she has a good success at getting some big-time athletes to work with her. I don't know how she does it. I have Uильям Smit from Texas. We've had some conversations. His practice is now 80% athletes in business. And it was funny when in our little conversation, he said, next month I'm going to be celebrating 20 years of not wearing a tie, and I seldom get up before 10 a.m. And remember, I said how fun it is to work with athletes and performers, and how satisfying it is, let alone the money. You talked about if you Google hypnosis and Olympics, you'll get a number of people who've brought athletes to gold medals. I talked about. This is quite a story. Google the 1983 Chicago White Sox hypnotherapist, a man named Harvey Meisel. I don't know him personally, but he worked with over 200 players. My website's, you just Google, you have a lot of fun. We're all over the place, but I want to get this out more, not because I want to help the top professionals. They've got plenty of help with sports psychologists and certain hypnotherapists doing well. I want us to help all these kids and recreational athletes who nobody's helping right now. The market is so huge. I just did a training here in Seattle. It's so huge I couldn't even see all the clients if I wanted to. And so I'm happy to help the 15 hypnotherapists here in my own hometown get more sports clients. It's unlimited market.
Yeah, it's funny you brought that up. Someone emailed me who lives in your town and said, well, he's got it all looked up. What chance do I have? And I'm like, that's wrong thinking.
Exactly.
Because, there's more than enough people out there to do this, and people are lazy. So if you're on the north side of town, people are going to not necessarily want to travel, and will go to the local hypnotist if they think that person works with athletes.
How I would like to ask, how do I have anything locked up? I have about 4 athletic directors and workout places referring to me. It's all I want. I got all the clients I want. There's probably about 50 more out there that nobody's touched, or more. There's probably 1,000 different coaches who would love to refer. I mean, I haven't even touched the surface just in my town here. And let me put it out here, I do a lot of work on Skype. Our market is the entire world now. They don't even have to be in our local area. I market to the whole world.
As long as they speak English.
As long as they speak English.
Yeah. So we're almost coming up on the 1.5 hour mark. But real quickly, I know that you have ways of targeting specific sports issues for the different sports. You want to run through those real quickly?
Yeah, my program is all about, this is what I tell them. I think I went through this really quick. I say we got to deal with the mental and emotional conscious habits and patterns, and we got to do things at the unconscious level as well. I help my clients control their thoughts. I teach them emotional mastery so they become fearless. I give them self-hypnosis technique. I help them clear all the mental baggage, and we teach them how to get into the zone or in flow on command. We do all of this at the conscious and unconscious levels. By the time we're done, they're going to be their own best therapists. I've got a package of 4 sessions, and I tell them the price. Like I said, boom, quiet. Yeah,
so like for the baseball player comes to you, a common thing in baseball is a batting slump or the pitcher's just outside the strike zone, and it's a mental issue. Yep. And so you just able to talk to them about that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Remember I was talking about being timid, being afraid, fear of failure. People understand that kind of thing. Most of the time when I'm talking to people, I'll just ask questions to let them speak, throw a few tidbits of working with somebody in the past, and then go into my program. And this is what I teach hypnotherapists, is my program. It's a process that I just taught to all my Seattle hypnotherapists in this area. So you can copy mine verbatim. It's step by step. Or you can mix and match, take what you like from me, make your own process, and go out there and get your clients. They're waiting for you. It's actually a lot easier working with athletes than it is some of these others. Smoking and weight loss are 10 times more difficult.
Yeah, and not necessarily as appreciative. But yes. Since we're talking about your program,
yes.
Before we go into question and answers, why don't you talk a little bit about it? Because I know you have a free sample if people want to know specifically how you work.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to give them that website to go to, and when they get what happened, I did this training here in Seattle for a bunch of hypnotherapists and taught them all everything I know is in 2 days, and I went hyper light speed just like I'm doing here, and it's all recorded, and I edited out all the things so that you don't get all the nonsensical chatting. And it's a 12-hour program. You learn my exact program that I put out there for my clients, what I take them through, and how to get over the specific issues athletes have, how to deal with a batting slump, for instance, the core issue of what gets a gymnast to develop a block where they stop going backwards. Everything is in there, and the offer that you have, the URL that people are going to be sent to, has got a bunch of free videos that are sneak peeks of the training. You'll learn a few things that I haven't talked about here today about how I work with people and how I get such high success rates.
Right. Now, to be specific, this is the technique stuff, which I purposely avoid because I'm the marketing guy. Besides, you just got an amazing hour-and-a-half lesson in marketing, even if you don't do sports hypnosis, which is why I let him keep going. I was like, this is great. But those of you who are looking at the slides, right on the left side of the slides, there's a gray button marked Free Preview. If you click on that, it'll take you there. Those of you who are listening on Skype or on the phone only, the URL is tinyurl.com. That's tinyurl.com/sportshypnosis. So that's tinyurl.com/sportshypnosis. And I'll send this out to you too. I actually went there and looked at it. He's got videos for you and some information sheets. It's great stuff. That's the technique if you want to learn, because I know you guys have been asking me, is technique. So, yeah, go there and check it out. It's great stuff.